Let me ask you this. What do you think a realistic, not a pipe in the pipe dream, what's a realistic trade offer that somebody would actually give up for Aiyuk at this point?
See, it's a good question, and I'd have to go back and look at it. But I think the bigger thing is, to me, it's less about just his value and more about why are they giving it up. Like, obviously, Washington is a team that has made a lot of headlines in terms of could they want him. He's really good friends with Jaden Daniels. They need a receiver. But them having the salary cap space to do that doesn't mean that they are in the cycle of their team building life cycle. I don't think they are at a place where it makes sense to shell out for a receiver now. So to me, there's the cost of it, but there's also, does this actually make sense for a team? And is that a 1-year decision or is that a 3-year decision?
I just look back because I just thought of Devontae Adams. It's not apples to apples, but it's pretty close. And the Packers got a first and a second for Devontae Adams. That seems fair to me. That seems right. Like if you were to trade for Brandon Aiyuk, you would say, first is probably a little light because Brandon Ayuk's better than your normal first round pick. First and a second probably seems to fit there. Now, the problem with that is you look at a team like the Commanders, who are going to come up a million times in this because just the Jaden Daniels connection and all that. The Commanders drafted second overall this year. They're going to be better this year, especially if they get Brandon Aiyuk. But are Commanders really giving up their first round pick next year and worrying it's going to be in the top 5 again? I don't know that they do that. So it's going to be, it would be very complicated, but I think realistically it's a first and a second. Same as Devontae. They're both equal, not equals, but similar players at this point in their careers. So I would say first and second. And if I'm the Commanders, I do consider that. Why not? Like, I know that they're a rebuilding team and all this. Brandon Aiyuk helps you a ton. He is maybe I'm just drinking the Matt Harmon Kool-Aid too much on Brandon Aiyuk. He's been a Matt Harmon favorite for a long time, our colleague. But I think Brandon Aiyuk is legitimately within the top 15 receivers in the NFL, maybe the top 10. And a guy like that would help Jaden Daniels so much that it's worth the picks. But yeah, I get it. These teams giving up those kind of picks it's hard, especially for a rebuilding team.
I think that's the biggest confusion I have of the way this all goes down. Because in my mind, giving up a first and a second makes a ton of sense if you're in a Super Bowl window and you think Brandon Aiyuk is the guy that puts you over the top. Problem is, when I look at teams in the Super Bowl window and I ask, well, who would want to give up a first and a second for Brandon Aiyuk? The answer to that doesn't appear to be the Bills. Like, they've told you pretty clearly they don't think they need that. The answer to that isn't the Dolphins. The answer to that isn't the Bengals right now. The answer to that isn't the Ravens. Like,
I got one for you. I got one for you, Fitz.
Who?
The Detroit Lions, who have the 3rd most effective cap space right now. So you could pitch this. Look, I get it's a little crazy, but you're the Detroit Lions. You're finally in a Super Bowl window. Why not get a little bit crazy? You pitch Brandon Aiyuk on, we're not going to give you a long-term deal, but we'll give you a raise. We'll give you $25 million this year. But that'll make you happy for a year, won't it? And you just figure it out in the offseason. After that, like, I think if you're YOLO and you're the Detroit Lions and you really don't have a number 2 receiver, Jameson Williams is there. I like his potential, but he hasn't done it yet. He's a different type of receiver than Brandon Aiyuk, obviously. If you tell me that a team is going into the season with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brandon Aiyuk, and Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta in your passing game, I like that a lot. And I don't care what you give up in the future if it's even for a 1-year rental. The Houston Texans just did it for Stephon Diggs, and they changed his contract to make it just 1 year. Why would it be that much different if the Detroit Lions did it? Now, I don't know that the 49ers would necessarily be like, sure, we'll give Brandon Aiyuk to the Detroit Lions, a team that should have beat us in the NFC Championship game. But we're getting crazy, right? We're talking about what would be the most fun. What Super Bowl contender should just be like, we don't care about these picks in the future. We want to win this year right now. The Detroit Lions had the cap space to get this really, really interesting.
Frank, you make such a good point because I think sometimes I think about this as, oh, well, they're not just giving up the picks. They also have to have the cap space over the next few years. But you're right. Stephon Diggs and the Texans, they made this into a 1-year deal. They said, let's reassess. They said, let's go chase this window. Because I was actually surprised when you said the Lions have that much cap space, but I think it's because even though they're doing these extensions, they're not taking the big hit of them now. So I don't know that in 2-3 years, they'll still have enough cap space to get Aiyuk where they want to, unless they're just doing a lot of funny money and voidable years and all of that. But if they were able to do a Stephon Diggs type thing, I think it'd be a great move for the Lions. I also do not anticipate the San Francisco 49ers going for that.
That's the fly in the
The
ointment,
reason
so to speak.
the 49ers
I don't think
want
49ers doing
Aiyuk,
that.
it would be the exact opposite of that's the exact reason why they should not give him to the Lions.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, the Lions call when they just
Commanders
say not
probably
you,
aren't
fat
coming
Jesus,
for
they're
them
out.
this year, so there's a lot less of a risk.
Yeah,
But think
there's
about
no
even
way.
the Titans and the Eagles, who aren't direct competitors, but seeing what AJ Brown did, and people lost jobs over that. So when you think about that in the conference and you just played each other, advanced in the playoffs.
Yeah, it ain't happening. It ain't happening.